Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Jeremy, and today in our third video in the Creating a Thesis Statement series, we will be trying to work and build upon our thesis statement that we started last video. Our content comes from grade 10, unit 3, the Cold War, specifically day 15. And our video objectives, we're going to brainstorm evidence using step 3 of the thesis statement tool. And then we're going to try to categorize this evidence using step 4. In our previous videos, we went over the 6 steps of the tool. And right now we're going to be looking at steps 3 and 4, brainstorming evidence and categorizing. In our previous video, we tried to really figure out what the question was asking us in step 1, and then we answered the question in step 2. In this video, we're going to expand on this step 2, because if we look at it, it was a little bit bare. We answered the question, but we didn't really try to support it. So now we're going to go a little bit further and we're going to try to make it a much stronger answer. So in front of us right now are steps 3 and 4 of the tool. You may wish to pause here if you want to try the steps on your own. So now that you've had some time to work on your own, you may have had your own answer, or you may have been trying to build on the answer from our previous video. We need to figure out, well, what evidence do we have to support what was said before? So I said there were many political and economic factors that contributed to the start of the Cold War. Like what? What are some of our answers? So I have brainstormed this before, and we do have a couple of things. And for this, you may have wanted to go back to your notes just to refresh your memory on what was happening to lead to the Cold War, right? So some that I wrote down: after World War II, there was a lot of uncertainty, global uncertainty even. There was also political and economic instability after World War II. The US and the Soviet Union will emerge as superpowers, and that definitely will contribute to the Cold War, as they were the two who were competing. And some of that was because of ideological differences between the US and the Soviet Union. I will definitely talk about in my essay about the conflicting ideas of capitalism and communism and how they really will cause conflict and potential proxy wars. We also have the fact that the superpowers wanted to expand their power. They didn't want the other one to get more powerful, and they wanted to spread their ideologies. And thinking about they didn't want the others to get more powerful, I also put down the superpowers wanted to protect their own interests and their own power. So these are the things that came to mind to me that really contributed to the Cold War. So that's a couple of evidence. You may have had more. In fact, you may be noticing that my evidence doesn't help to support your claim, or maybe you had different pieces of evidence support the claim from before. That is completely fine. There is no one way to write a thesis statement, and there's just not one piece of evidence to support it. You could answer this question in many different ways as long as you follow the steps. Great. So now that we have all these, I'm thinking I need to categorize. And I will show you my categories and then walk you through why I put them together. So I looked at step 3, where we brainstormed some evidence, and I realized there were some patterns in my evidence here. So I talked about World War II, right? And I've noticed that I mentioned uncertainty and instability. So to me, I felt that I could actually merge these two together. And I saw that as a post-World War II kind of category. So I wrote instability and uncertainty after World War II. And then as I looked more into my evidence, I realized that the US and the Soviet Union coming out as superpowers was really important to the Cold War, but also because they had those different ideologies. And it looked like these two could really come together to like make my point stronger. It's a much stronger argument. So my second category is about how the superpowers had different ideologies. And then I looked at the last two and I realized the superpowers really wanting to protect their interests goes with the fact that they were expanding their power and spreading their ideologies. And you could have written this in another way as well. You could have said that they wanted to expand their power, and that could have incorporated these, or they wanted to spread their ideologies that also incorporates these. So there are other ways you could actually form these categories. Because once again, these categories are not the only categories that we could have. So now we have brainstorm our evidence. We actually have an answer from step two. And now we have some categories to support our answer from step two. In our next video, we are going to see how all of this comes together, and we're going to use the thesis statement tool to put everything we've done from steps 1 through 4 together into a thesis statement. See you then.